Brody again made another beat I want to break down with you guys. I just got out of the session, very stoked on how it turned out. We did, I had a session with Grim today. I've talked about him before, really sick Irish artist doing some cool post-hardcore, new metal, shoegaze adjacent stuff, so like super up my alley. We just got out of the session. We've been really figuring out how to best combine all of our influences, all of the sounds that we're into, and we were just saying how with this session, the past few we've done, we think we've really figured out the formula, kind of cracked the code of a Brody Crim song. And I kind of wanted to run through this and like break down all the different layers and all the different genres we're pulling from to make this what it is, and talk about like creative process, riffs, techniques, blending, all of that. I don't know. I'm going to show you guys a snippet of this last hook build-up breakdown, kind of give you an idea of some of the stuff happening in the song. So here is part of it. I just ordered a new laptop. It will be here in a week or two, so no more system overloads. But here's the rest of the song. Hell yeah. I love how that turned out. Very sick. So I guess I'll go through, kind of talk about the song, how it was written. We started this by kind of building the chorus. That's how I've noticed a lot of songs of mine go. I'll just like start adding parts together and fully flesh out one section all the way and just stack it vertically, and then take some of those layers, move them around, and that's kind of how I start arranging. Started off with this guitar part. Very like 2000s emo, like from first to last style, just like drop D power chords with some extra like ninths and 11ths stuff kind of going in, adding some more like emo-ness to them. I recorded them on this V guitar through my Marshall, boosted it with a blues driver. In hindsight, I'd probably put a little less distortion on it because it's kind of bright and it could be rounded out a little bit. But also going with that 2000s post-hardcore thing, I think it's kind of fitting that it's a crazy tone because that's like what stylistically was going on then. We got that. I wrung out some harmonics and just recorded like long reverb tail of them to make this like kind of ambience thing going on all the way throughout. And I think that these two sections, these two parts kind of define the two layers of the song, if you will. I feel like there's the post-hardcore side, which is the guitar, bass, drums. That is pretty straightforward and like aggressive, kind of typical Underoathy from first to last 2000s post-hardcore thing, like I mentioned. But then where it gets weird is a lot of the extra things we added. So like the world building that I think almost hits like this like Sigur Rós, Adrian Lenker, Bon Iver kind of like folky indie kind of thing, which I like to think is kind of like the unique part of the songs that we make together, because I feel like I've not seen much of that done within like a rock context before, but it feels very natural for us, just considering the influences, all the stuff I make, all that I listen to. So I think that that is kind of like the difference in this song. So if this is our emo, this is our like ambient folky thing. This lead is kind of like nu metal-esque. It's a very emo lead, but with the super like distorted tone and phaser, it kind of becomes like nu metal. It's like a Korn guitar tone. We've got our drums. I'm using Superior Drummer 3. Been loving the switch from Easy Drummer to Superior Drummer. Can stack some samples really well using one of the default Superior kits, but then stacking with some of the death metal samples and for the snare and a pop punk like SJC kick as well. It like automatically phase aligns them and everything. It's really sick. And then my drum bus is doing a lot of heavy lifting too. We got Radiator. Just to soften some of the transients. The API 2500 bus compressor to glue. Some soothe. Some EQ. Oxford inflator to kind of just like boost a little bit. More EQ. Next we have, which I think is another very... Okay, this would equally fit within the folky things I mentioned and the emo world is all this aux percussion. Like a shaker, tambourine, all that. I recorded these all myself. I did a tambourine layer, a shaker layer, and then this layer is kind of like a mix between the two. It's a Christmas decoration that we had that I wound up stealing from the studio. It's a bunch of little bells, like sleigh bell type things, and I thought it had this really like pleasing sound to it. It has like a sleigh, I don't know, like a sleigh bell rain stick kind of thing. It's nice. Next we got the bass. Splitting it between SVT sim for like the bass sound of it. Marshall with the blues driver for the dirt. Pretty metal bass tone. Next, we get more of the weird folky elements. I recorded some takes of me just like singing. Ran them through Little Altar Boy, so they're all formatted differently. I think that hits some of the like Bon Iver, even like Blade, like SoundCloudy stuff as well. And then I took those same parts and then I ran them through some more processing, reverbs, delays, but then I also put the entire bus through a Little Altar Boy, throws the notes all these weird directions. Makes it sound crazy. That's the same takes as the cleaner ones I showed you, but it's this weird, uneasy, like robotic, like chaotic thing that I think on the high energy sections of the song really adds a lot. And we got some acoustic guitar, very raw. Intentionally, I only did a little bit of EQ and then multi-band compression to tame like the low end bumps. But very raw. Another layer. Compressed it just a tad with the distressor. 50%. Now that's a riff that I think that one of the tricks and one of the things that we realized with like combining all the genres that we mentioned is like finding the middle grounds and like the common threads between them. And that's the way that you can blend genres without sounding forced. I feel like these guitar parts on their own could fit in an emo song, in a folk song, in a post-rock song, and like so many different places. This is like a very Midwest emo kind of run. Yeah, so it's finding those common ground, the common threads, and just stacking as many of them as you can until it all becomes familiar and doesn't feel like fusion. I think there's some ways you could do fusion where it's like, oh, here's like the section that's rock, here's a section that's electronic and whatnot. But I think that doing it more subtly is a lot more interesting, and where it starts to feel less like a gimmick and more just you combining all of your influences into something that is like truly you, unique to you. Here is, again, some folky elements, some slide guitar ebo on my acoustic. It sounds so vocal that I think it works really nicely with the vocal layers I added, like the kind of blend. And I love that that's happening during this big emo chords. It feels very like ascending, very like huge epic moment. And I love doing that because it just takes something that's already huge, like a big wall of sound guitar moment, and just like grows it to like, it's almost exaggerating it to such an extreme that it's almost camp how big the section becomes with all of that. I did the same trick. I took that ebo and I ran it through Little Altar Boy to give it that like robotic screaming kind of thing. Then another version pitched down, just for some texture. And honestly, this is happening like majority of the song. It's quiet enough in such like a wide stereo image that it doesn't really take up much space. It like always kind of, it's similar to like a shaker, a tambourine thing. Like there's always room for it, and it's always adding some energy in this situation. From this section, pretty straightforward, fast, double bass almost chorus. We go, I want to point out before we move on, the ending I thought was fun. Another nod to a lot of the 2000s, like a lot of emo bands are doing this. I feel like a lot of like, I don't know, there's like Block Party, The Strokes, some of the more indie leaning / just indie bands do like dance drums as well. And I think that it's fun and adds a lot of cool energy to go from this pattern to a total like genre switch just for like a couple bars. Right there. So yeah, it goes like, I'll solo out the drums here. Yeah, so it goes from like the straight crashes to like offbeat. It's like almost 4 on the floor kicks with the offbeat open hi-hat. I don't know, cool way to just add something fun and like variation for a little bit. I think that this song has a lot of ear candy, and that's something I've been really valuing recently, is like there always being something to bring attention to you, whether it is something very front facing like that, or in a more chill song, whether like it's an ambient shoegaze kind of thing, like even if it's like just a nice texture coming in, I think the ear candy is important. But yeah, we go from this to a big ring out build up section. Now it's a very classic like pre-breakdown move to do the chord ring out, going like tom hits to get ready for like what's to come, you know, the moment where the singer's like moving their hands and getting ready for a wall of death or something. But I wanted to take that and bring it to the next level by like adding a lot of those ambient things to it and making it equally be like a fight riff and like a emotional ascending kind of thing That's where we come up with this. Even adding the breakbeat in there too. Then so I'll kind of explain that here a little bit. I really wanted to do a like more riffy section than straight breakdown. I like the idea of it, instead of being like palm muted chugs, being chords, and then playing with some like dissonant palm muted stuff in between. This time, so I double tracked with my Jackson and the Blues Driver for the whole song. But for this breakdown, I want it to be bigger, so I also layered it, this time boosting it with my Rat distortion. It starts to sound a little like choked out and weird, but I really like the way that the palm muted higher notes sound on it. I think it adds some like, it's like some high-end attack to it. Kind of nice. Simple riff. It's like simple but very hard-hitting riff. Got the drum pattern that's loosely following the chords on the kick drum. Pretty open bass. We have the shaker in. Now, I intentionally, with a lot of the guitars in this song, I only tracked them a couple times. Like, I didn't do a bunch of takes to, like, comp the perfect guitar take. I think there's some metal in rock where it makes sense to be super on the grid. But with this, I think the chaos really helps. So I made sure that these were kind of loose and sloppy. What else do we got on this section? No other new elements. I kind of showed you a lot of that in the hook and build-up. But a lot of the big ambient elements are there. You can hear them on the sides. It's like bringing some shoegaze ambient elements to metal. I think that even though metal is a lot more upfront and rhythmic than shoegaze, I think it still has that wall of sound element that allows you to really stack and make things big and texturally interesting. And I think that's a fun way to combine the genres. Now for the end, we had realized like there's so many cool elements that I've shown you guys here that never really had too much of a chance to shine in this beat, except for like there are some more like acoustic sections. But they're kind of short-lived and have vocals over top of it. So we wanted the outro to be more electronic leaning. I put an 808 of mine, the back road 808 from my drum kit, and a breakbeat also from my drum kit. Actually, they just happen to fit perfectly. In the outro for like 16 bars, and just layered a lot of takes that we wanted to, like, basically our favorite ear candy elements from the ambient section of the song to try to make like electronic outro. And I think it really is nice. It's like the outro sounds like it could be a whole song of its own, but then it just ends, which I think is super fun and like adds replayability. The Mathy guitars and the breakbeat drum, I think, are a really nice pair. They're really like locked in together. Yeah, Love how that one turned out. I can't wait to hear the vocals on that. I think that it has such potential to be a catchy pop forward song within like all these genres. But yeah, that's how I made this. That's how we came to the decisions that we did. It's how we combined a lot of our favorite genres and influences into one, in my opinion, cohesive song. Yeah, I went through this one kind of quickly. So if there's any questions or anything you want me to elaborate on, let me know in the comments and I gotcha. Appreciate it if you made it this far. Always means a ton. And with that being said, peace out.